The mahogany walls of the Kingston family library had witnessed generations of power transfers, but none quite like this. My brothers, Thomas and Edward, lounged in leather chairs worth more than my supposed monthly salary, sharing knowing smirks as the family lawyer droned on about Grandpa Richard's estate. As per the late Mr. Kingston's apparent wishes, Mr. Harrison adjusted his wire-rimmed glasses. The primary trust will be divided, 45% to Thomas, 45% to Edward, and 10% to Alexandra. Apparent wishes? I kept my voice soft, letting them underestimate me one last time. Thomas laughed, running his hand through his expertly styled hair. Come on, Alex. Did you really expect an equal share? You're the one who abandoned the family business to find yourself living in that tiny apartment, Edward added. Working as what? A clerk? If they only knew that tiny apartment was the penthouse of a building I owned, or that my clerk position was a cover for my role as CEO of one of the largest private equity firms on the West Coast. Actually, I opened my leather portfolio, not designer. They'd expect that. I have some questions about the trust's recent activities. Mr. Harrison's carefully neutral expression flickered. The trust operations are quite complex, Miss Kingston. Perhaps we should focus on the distribution, like the $27 million transferred to Cayman Islands accounts last month. I kept my tone conversational, or the series of shell companies created under Grandpa's name. 3 months after he died, the temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Those are confidential matters, Thomas snapped, his smirk fading. Nothing about this trust is confidential to its real controller. I pulled out the first document. Grandpa's original will, dated 1 week before his death. That's impossible. Mr. Harrison stood abruptly. The will was signed 3 days after he died. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting timing, considering I have security footage of you and my brothers entering his study that night, carrying some very interesting documents. Edward's face went pale. You're bluffing. Like you bluffed about Grandpa's mental state in his final months. I extracted another file. His medical records show he was perfectly competent when he made me executor of the Kingston Trust. 3 years ago. Thomas lunged for the papers, but I held up my phone. The documents are already with the SEC, along with evidence of every fraudulent transaction you've both been hiding. You can't. Thomas started. Can't what? Protect my inheritance? Fulfill Grandpa's real wishes? I stood, walking to the portrait of Richard Kingston that dominated the library wall. He knew what you were planning. Why do you think he changed the trust structure? What are you talking about? Edward's voice cracked. I pressed my thumb to the portrait's frame, a hidden biometric scanner Grandpa had installed. The painting swung forward, revealing a wall safe. Grandpa gave me this access code on my 25th birthday. I entered the combination. Said I was the only one who saw wealth as responsibility, not entitlement. Mr. Harrison moved toward the door, but I clicked a button on my phone. The security team won't let you leave, Mr. Harrison. Not until we discuss your role in falsifying legal documents. The safe opened with a soft click. Inside lay the truth they tried to bury. The real trust documents, videos of Grandpa explaining his decisions, and evidence of every scheme my brothers had run thinking no one was watching. Your share? I echoed Thomas's earlier mockery. Let's talk about shares. The Kingston Trust doesn't divide into percentages. It has one controller, chosen by Grandpa, based on character, not birth order. I placed a USB drive on the desk. This contains everything. The real will, proof of your embezzlement, recordings of your conspiracy with Mr. Harrison. I checked my watch. 3 minutes. Copies will reach the FBI, SEC, and family board members. You destroy your own brothers? Edward whispered. No, I picked up Grandpa's favorite fountain pen from the desk. You did that yourselves. I'm just executing Grandpa's last wishes to protect the Kingston legacy from those who would abuse it. My phone buzzed, an alert that the files had been delivered. Right on schedule. Now, I sat in Grandpa's old chair, feeling its familiar leather embrace. Let's discuss your futures. They're about to change dramatically. Through the library's surveillance cameras, I watched my brothers' faces as reality finally hit them. Their perfect world of privilege and power was about to shatter, and their little sister, the one they'd mocked and dismissed, held all the pieces. Grandpa always said true wealth shows character. I opened my laptop, displaying their complete financial records. Time to show me yours. Outside the library windows, rain began to fall, washing away the last traces of their illusion of control. The real power had always been quietly waiting, watching, and preparing for this moment. And we were just getting started. The next morning, I sat in my real office on the 47th floor of Kingston Tower, the building my brothers thought was still controlled by their shell corporation. The rain had cleared, leaving the city gleaming like new money. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since last night. Thomas, 2:13 a.m. We need to talk. This is insane. Edward, 3:45 a.m. You can't do this to family. Mr. Harrison's law firm, 4:30 a.m. Urgent matter regarding Kingston Trust. My executive assistant, Victoria, entered with my morning coffee and the latest trust reports. Your grandfather's private files have been transferred from the secure vault. And, she paused, your brothers are in the lobby. I checked the security feed. Thomas and Edward stood by the reception desk, their usual polished appearance notably disheveled. Thomas's Brioni suit was wrinkled, and Edward's hands kept fidgeting with his Rolex, the one he'd bought with embezzled trust funds. Let them wait 15 minutes, I said, opening Grandpa's personal journal, the one they never knew existed. Then send them up. The journal's pages contained everything: his observations of my brother's character flaws, his quiet mentoring of me, and most importantly, his master plan for the family legacy. 5 years earlier. Watch them, Grandpa had said, showing me the hidden cameras he'd installed throughout the family offices. See how they treat people when they think no one's looking. I'd seen it all. Thomas berating staff, Edward stealing from petty cash, both of them plotting to seize control once Grandpa was out of the way. But why show me? I'd asked. Because you're different. He'd smiled, touching the journal. You see people, not assets. That's why you'll protect this family's real wealth. Its soul. Present day. Victoria's voice interrupted my memories. They're on their way up. I opened my laptop, pulling up the trust's complete records. Every transaction, every scheme, every betrayal documented in meticulous detail. The office doors burst open. Thomas stormed in first, stopping short at the view. Edward followed, his eyes darting around the space that screamed old money and quiet power. This is your office. Thomas's voice cracked. But you said that I worked as a clerk. Amazing what people reveal when they think you're beneath them. I gestured to the chairs facing my desk. Sit. Listen, Edward started, about the trust. About the $43 million you've embezzled. I turned my laptop to show them the spreadsheets. Or the offshore accounts? The fake charities? The systematic theft from every company under trust management. Thomas straightened his tie. We can explain. Like you explained to Grandpa. I played a video on the wall screen. Security footage of them arguing with our grandfather 3 days before his death. Give us control now. Thomas's recorded voice demanded, "or we'll have you declared incompetent." The color drained from their faces as they watched themselves threaten the man who'd built our family's empire. "He recorded everything," I said quietly. "Every conversation, every threat, every scheme." Then he showed me. "Why you?" Edward whispered. I opened Grandpa's journal to a marked page. "Because I earned it. While you were stealing from petty cash, I was learning the business from the ground up. While you were threatening staff, I was building relationships." Grandpa saw everything. "The trust," Thomas started, "has been under my control for 5 years." I pulled up the original documents. Grandpa transferred everything to me gradually, watching how you'd react thinking you were still in line for control. "That's why the quarterly reports," Edward's voice trailed off, "showed what you expected to see. Yes, every successful transaction you thought you'd hidden was actually a test. One you both failed spectacularly." My phone buzzed. The family board was assembling for an emergency meeting, as planned. Now, I stood, straightening my channel blazer. No need to hide my success anymore. "We have 15 minutes before I present the full audit to the board. Your choices are limited, but they do exist." "Choices?" Thomas laughed bitterly. "You're destroying us." "No," I corrected. "I'm saving the family legacy from you." But Grandpa believed in redemption, even if he didn't trust you with power. I slid 2 folders across the desk. Option 1, resign all positions, enter the rehabilitation program Grandpa designed, work your way up from entry level under strict supervision. Option 2, face criminal charges for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy. Entry level? Edward looked horrified. "We're Kingstones." "Exactly." I touched Grandpa's journal. "And it's time you learned what that really means." Through the office windows, I could see the family board members arriving, gathering in the conference room where their world was about to change. "Time to choose, brothers." I checked my watch. "The board meets in 10 minutes, with or without your signatures on these agreements." Thomas reached for a folder with trembling hands. "You planned this all along." "No," I said softly. "Grandpa did. I'm just the one who proved worthy of his trust." The morning sun filled the office, reflecting off the city buildings my grandfather had built and my brothers had tried to steal. But the real family legacy wasn't in the buildings. It was in the choice between power and responsibility. And my brothers were about to learn the difference. The Kingston family boardroom fell silent as I displayed the trust's real financial records on the massive screen. 12 board members, cousins, uncles, family friends who'd served for generations, stared at the evidence of my brother's systematic theft. Thomas and Edward sat at the far end of the table, their signed rehabilitation agreements placed prominently before them. They looked small somehow, stripped of their arrogance. "As you can see," I continued, "Grandfather Richard's decision to transfer control to me was based on substantial evidence of misconduct." I clicked to the next slide. "These are the original trust documents, signed and witnessed 5 years ago." Uncle Philip, our father's older brother, leaned forward. "All this time, you've been running everything?" "The legitimate operations?" "Yes." I pulled up performance charts. Under my management, the trust's legitimate assets have grown by 47%. The charitable foundation has doubled its impact. The family's core businesses are more profitable than ever. And my sons. Dad's voice cracked slightly. He'd arrived just minutes before, summoned by the board's emergency notice. I met his eyes. "We're stealing millions, threatening staff, and plotting to seize control through forged documents." I softened my tone. "I'm sorry, Dad, but Grandpa saw it coming." The screen changed to show a video recording. Grandfather Richard's familiar face filled the frame, recorded in his study 3 months before his death. "If you're watching this," he began, "Alexandra has finally revealed the truth about our family's legacy. The trust, the businesses, the foundation. Everything I'd built was never meant for those who valued power over purpose." Thomas shifted uncomfortably as our grandfather continued. "I watched my grandsons become exactly what I feared: entitled, corrupt, dangerous to everything we built. But Alexandra," he smiled, "she showed me what real leadership looks like: quiet strength, genuine compassion, strategic brilliance hidden behind humility." The board members glanced between me and the screen, seeing the parallels Grandpa had spotted years ago. "The rehabilitation program exists for a reason," Grandpa's recording continued, "because family is about second chances, but only for those willing to earn them." I paused the video. "Thomas and Edward have chosen to enter the program. They'll start in entry-level positions, learn every aspect of our businesses properly this time, under strict supervision. And if we refuse," Thomas burst out, then flinched as every head turned to him, "then the SEC gets everything." I clicked to display their criminal exposure: fraud charges, asset seizure, public trials. "You'd send your own brothers to prison?" Dad asked quietly. "They sent themselves there," I corrected. "I'm offering a way back, like Grandpa wanted." Edward spoke for the first time, his voice hollow. "The shell companies, the offshore accounts, will be dissolved," I finished. "All stolen funds repaid. The trust will absorb the losses, but our family's reputation stays intact, provided you both comply completely." Uncle Philip cleared his throat. "And the future leadership structure?" I stood, walking to the window overlooking the city our family had helped build. Grandpa left specific instructions. "The trust remains under my control, but with new oversight provisions: a reformed board, ethical guidelines, transparent operations. And us?" Thomas gestured to himself and Edward. "You'll have a chance to earn back positions of responsibility. Real ones, based on merit, not manipulation." I turned back to the board. "But first, you need to understand what being a Kingston really means." I played the final part of Grandpa's video. To those watching this, his image said, "Remember, true wealth isn't in what you own, but in how you use it." Alexandra understood that. Now she'll teach it to others, even those who tried to destroy her. The screen went dark. Dad stood slowly. "I need to know, how long have you known about their crimes?" "Since the beginning," I admitted. "Grandpa showed me everything, taught me to watch and wait, to be ready when they finally went too far." "And now?" Edward asked. I pressed a button on my phone. Security entered with boxes, my brother's personal items from their offices. "Now you go to your new positions. Edward, you'll start in mailroom operations. Thomas, customer service. 6 months minimum at each level of the company. Weekly reviews, financial monitoring, counseling sessions." "Like children," Thomas muttered. "No," I corrected. "Like employees who need to learn integrity, starting with honest work." The board members began gathering their things, the decision clearly made. The Kingston family had a new leader and a new direction. "Alexandra," Dad touched my arm as others filed out. "I should have seen." "You saw what they wanted you to see," I said gently. "We all have blind spots when it comes to family." Through the boardroom windows, I watched my brothers being escorted to their new positions. No corner offices, no executive privileges, just desks among regular employees, where they'd learn the business from the ground up. "Grandpa would be proud," Dad said quietly. I touched the journal in my pocket. My grandfather's real legacy. Not the money or the buildings, but the wisdom to know what real power looked like. And the patience to wait until others learned it too. 6 months later, I reviewed the rehabilitation program reports on my desk. Edward Kingston. Mailroom performance review. Shows improved attitude towards staff. Learning basic operations. Notably apologized to Jane, receptionist, for past behavior. Requesting additional training in logistics. Thomas Kingston. Customer service evaluation. Initially resistant, but making progress. Successfully handled difficult client complaints. Beginning to understand value of frontline work. Stopped demanding preferential treatment. Victoria entered with my morning coffee and a stack of files. The trust's quarterly numbers are in. We're up 12% since the restructuring. I nodded, opening my grandfather's journal to his last entry. Power reveals character, but so does powerlessness. Watch how they handle both. My phone buzzed with a text from Edward. Meeting today. Found some inefficiencies in the mailroom system. Want to propose improvements. Progress. Small steps, but progress nonetheless. The security feed showed Thomas at his customer service desk, patiently handling a complaint. No sign of his former arrogance. 6 months of actual work had begun to reshape him. Your father's here, Victoria announced. With the foundation proposals. Dad entered, looking more relaxed than I'd seen him in years. The new youth financial literacy program is ready for review. He placed a folder on my desk. Edward helped organize the mailroom's contribution to the delivery system. Voluntarily. His idea, actually. Dad sat down. They're changing, Alex. Both of them. You and Grandpa. You were right. I pulled up the rehabilitation program's next phase on my laptop. They've earned level 2 access. Still restricted, still supervised. But progress, Dad finished. The office doors opened again. Thomas and Edward entered, both in standard business attire, no more custom suits. They looked different. Humbler. The quarterly reports. Thomas placed a file on my desk. I've highlighted some customer service insights that might help improve trust operations. Edward added his own report. And the mailroom efficiency proposal. It could save the foundation thousands in delivery costs. I studied them both. 6 months ago, they would have considered this work beneath them. Now they spoke about it with genuine interest. Sit, I gestured to the chairs. Let's discuss your progress. They sat, not lounging like entitled princes, but sitting straight, attentive, ready to learn. Grandpa left instructions for this moment too, I said, opening his journal, about second chances and real inheritance. We understand now, Edward said quietly, what he meant about earning it. Thomas nodded. The customers I talk to, the people we actually serve, I never saw them before. Not really. I turned my laptop to show them their new assignments. Phase 2 begins next week. Edward, you'll move to operations management, junior level. Thomas, client relations. Still supervised, still restricted. Thank you, Thomas started. Don't thank me yet, I cut in. The real test is just beginning. Grandpa believed power should be earned through service. Now you'll have a small taste of it back. Let's see what you've learned. Dad watched from the window as his sons absorbed the news. His eyes met mine, filled with understanding. This was what Grandpa had wanted, not just punishment, but transformation. The foundation board meets next week, I continued. You'll both present your efficiency proposals. Show them what you've learned about real value. They left with their new assignments, walking differently than they had 6 months ago. No swagger, no entitlement, just purpose. Victoria brought in the latest security reports. We still monitored them closely. But the last 6 months showed no attempts to circumvent restrictions, no secret meetings, no hidden agendas. Your grandfather's rehabilitation program, Dan said thoughtfully. It's not just about the money, is it? No, I touched the journal. It's about understanding what wealth is for, what the Kingston name should mean. My phone buzzed with messages from both brothers. Thomas, thank you, not just for the chance, but for stopping us before we destroyed everything. Edward, the foundation work, it matters. I get that now. I smiled, remembering Grandpa's words. Real power isn't in controlling others. It's in helping them find their best selves. Outside my office window, the city sparkled in the morning sun. The Kingston Empire stood stronger than ever, not just in assets, but in purpose. My brothers were learning. The family legacy was secure. And Grandpa's real inheritance, the wisdom to lead with both strength and compassion, had found its home. Ready for the foundation meeting? Dad asked. I picked up Grandpa's journal and my files, ready to watch them earn their second chance. Because sometimes the greatest power isn't in destroying those who wronged you. It's in showing them a better way to be. That was Grandpa's final lesson. And now, it was my legacy to share.